I want to welcome guests for this hour here to discuss forensic pathologist and medical examiner Dr. Jan Gorniak and federal trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg. Thank you both so much for being with me. But Alexis, I'd like you to weigh in, please, and the fact of the reliance on I hit him by the state and their theory of the case versus the defense theory of there was no collision. Where are you on both of these themes that they're presenting to this jury?
Well, in part, I do agree with Dr. Jan. I think that they have not presented enough evidence to support the fact that he was hit by the car. Now, for her to say in an excited or upset state, asking, did I hit him, seems pretty reasonable. I'm not following it. It seems very inconsistent, this testimony that she was saying that she hit him and it was some sort of admission.
All right, so Alexis, before I come to you, I want to listen to what the medical examiner said during testimony in the first trial of Karen Read. A reminder to everyone watching, the first trial did result in a hung jury. But let's listen to that together. And then Alexis, I want you to weigh in about the particular charges faced by Karen Read.
Observing or looking at the skull fractures and their pattern, there appeared to be a central point with fractures radiating or originating from that central point and going into other parts of the skull. I knew at that point that Mr. O'Keefe's head had come in contact with a blunt object.
Would that be sort of the point of impact between the blunt object and Mr. O'Keefe's head?
Right.
Now, with reference to the fractures that you would observed, how extensive were the fractures that you observed, the multiple ones?
Well, there were multiple fractures. So by definition, multiple fractures in multiple chambers or parts of the skull. So I would say they were extensive. Cause of death was blunt impact injuries of head and hypothermia.
And with reference to manner of death, what, if anything, did you list on Mr. O'Keefe's death certificate in relation to manner of death?
I listed could not be determined.
Alexis, could not be determined. Typically, there's a homicide finding when you see someone facing criminal charges for the murder. So does it surprise you in this particular case that these charges are being faced by Karen Read, and yet the medical examiner says that it was undetermined cause of death?
It is surprising. I've been surprised all along that they were charging her with this, because even if she accidentally ran him over, this should not be the charge. So, I mean, to prove that she intentionally tried to run him over is difficult in itself. But undetermined, for the prosecution to go in under these charges and then retry it. And once again, even in the first trial, the medical examiner is consistent with Dr. Jan that there was some sort of injury to the skull. And if we look at that, if he was allegedly hit by the car, most likely that is not going to come to injury to the skull. He would have had to have been knocked over and then hit his head, which would be consistent with a fall, such as falling down the basement stairs.
Alexis, you well know a judge has to determine first if something like that video clip of the interview with Karen Read about Peggy O'Keefe is relevant. And then if it's relevant, is it more probative and less prejudicial? Meaning if it's overly prejudicial, a court can say it can't come in. Judge Canoni said, yeah, it can come in. Do you agree with that ruling or not? I don't either.
I don't agree with that ruling at all. I think Alan Jackson articulated a very good argument. He's saying it does not go towards conscious of guilt, which I agree with. And I agree that the only reason that they wanted that in is that her tone that she was using when she was speaking about the deceased mother. And I think that the whole argument the prosecution was making was totally off base.
I agree with you. I was a little surprised by this ruling, but I also have to say at the end of the day, just weigh in really, really quickly, is this is why attorneys tell their clients, do not do interviews. Be quiet. Let's get through the trial, because the reality is no matter what you say, they can try to use it against you, and in this case, they are.
Exactly. But I think in this case, they have her doing these interviews to almost testify without being on the stand for public opinion. But I do agree. You always tell your clients not to give interviews.
So, right, Alexis, weigh in. This trial very different already than the first trial. We know different evidence is being used, things like the ARCA argument about the ARCA witnesses that are going to be allowed again by the defense. But to that end, the prosecution is doing things like playing video clips of Karen Reed and interviews that happened even after the first trial. Is it a significantly different trial in your mind?
I think anytime you have a second trial, it's going to be different because you're going to go back, you're going to review what happened the first time and try to correct those mistakes. Also, it gives you opportunities to better prep witnesses, which we've seen with some of their witnesses. They're coming across much more polished than the first time. So I do think it's just naturally a different trial.